Good morning. All right. Thank you very much. Speaking of being secret agents, is a beautiful segue for us to understand what we talk about next. How many people here have someone in your company or representing you who is specifically dedicated to outreach and public relations? Larry does his. I knew that hand should go up, and it did indeed. Now, when I was a kid, first time I ever got my name in the paper was the Long Island Daily Press. Well, the Long Island Daily Press is no longer, but the Long Island Press survives. So to talk to you about this is one of the brightest women I know. She is absolutely fascinating. Flown in at great expense, and boy, from Palm Beach, and boy, are her arms tired. Ladies and gentlemen, to talk to you of the value of public relations, please welcome the publisher of dance papers, Long Island Press, and too many other things for me to mention right now because that will take us to 10 o'clock. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Victoria Schneps.
Well, it's lovely to meet all of you, and thank you for inviting me. I'm just delighted to have a chance to chat with you because, you know, we talk about the value of public relations. I'm going to tell you my story, and I think some of you may have enough gray hair, I'm not sure, it's a young group, to remember, but my firstborn child was brain damaged. She turned blue in the nursery. And we found within a short few months that that brain damage was such from having turned blue that we did the journey for about 1.5 years to every doctor in New York to find a cure for her seizures, which were being caused by this brain damage. And we found a place finally where a doctor said to us, "Mother, she will always be a 3-month-old developmentally. And you've got to face it, and you've got to deal with it." And it took to register something like that. She was my firstborn child, and with the joy of her arrival, who would think such a thing would happen? But it did. And when the doctor said that to me, first you collapse, and you cry, and you do all the things that, the terrible pain gives you in your heart. And then we pulled ourselves together. My husband and I went to look for help for Lara, because I'm a cockeyed optimist, and I wasn't giving up. And in the years that she was born, which was 1968, there were no things like day programs, physical therapy programs, occupational programs. The only place that offered that was a place on Staten Island called Willowbrook. And Willowbrook had just built, I'm sorry my back is to you, had just built an infant rehabilitation center. And at that rehabilitation center, they were offering physical therapy in the morning and occupational therapy every day in the afternoons. And it looked like a very hopeful place. And when we brought Lara there, I lived in Bayside. And I had these wonderful lady friends who said to me, "Vicki, there but for the grace of God go I. How can I help you? Let's start a group." And we started the Women's Organization for Retarded Children, WORC. It has segued to today being called Life's Work, but let's not jump. So when we were at Willowbrook, we were sending busloads of volunteers and raising money for the people at Willowbrook. But within a year of Lara being at Willowbrook, Governor Rockefeller slashed the budget. And my lovely ladies and I, talk about publicity, began marching and picketing to get the funds back. But I often said I felt like I was knocking on air with my pickets because nobody listened until a cub reporter by the name of Geraldo Rivera came with his cameras, jumped the gates, jumped out of the walls, got a big fancy key and opened the doors of the back wards that even me as a mother never visited. And so Geraldo's passionate coverage, and my husband was a lawyer, so he decided with the parents that they were going to file a federal class action lawsuit. Do we have any lawyers in the group? Are there any lawyers here?
Yeah, one or two.
One or two?
Yeah,
Well, you understand a class action lawsuit is a very intense thing. And we, in fact, partnered with the Legal Aid Society. But we won the case. Willowbrook was closed. It is now the College of Staten Island. Every group home that you may hear about in the community came out of that lawsuit. And my daughter Lara got to live with dignity in a group home in the community where I lived. And so this is, thank you, Bill. This was public relations, guys. This was Geraldo putting his arms very, passionately. He's a brilliant man. And I must invite you all because on May 15th, it's the 35th anniversary of the Geraldo Rivera golf outing. He's still involved in my organization, raising millions of dollars for us. And we'll be over here at the Old Westbury Country Club. Come to dinner. They sold out the golf. I mean, Geraldo. But the point is that was the publicity that pushed the entire movement forward. And so, I had one child, Lara, but then I went on and had 3 more children. And when my baby went to kindergarten, the baby is now my CEO. When he went to kindergarten, I always had in my head, gee, the power of the press, because Geraldo's coverage truly pushed the agenda of the movement. I said, I'd like to be in the news business. My master's degree is in teaching. I always wanted to be a teacher. It's good to be a teacher. You learn how to speak in front of people like I am today. But I think that, with the journey and having my children in school, I said, I'd like to be in the news business. And I met this man who took a buyout from the Daily News. It was 1985. And in 1985, those of you might remember, all the buildings in New York were co-op. They had the rights to transfer from rental buildings to co-op. And I lived in Bayside and in Bay Terrace, if you're familiar with the area, in Forest Hills. I mean, there are, it's apartmentville. So we were able to, I realized that if you own your home or if you own your apartment, in this case here in Long Island, mostly condos, you care about the neighborhood. So I went to this fellow who took a buyout. He had a paper in Astoria. And I said, John, I live in Bayside, and I think we could start a newspaper here. He said, well, you think you could sell a few ads? I said, well, I'll sell to the realtor who sold me my house. I'll sell ads to the jeweler, my hairdresser, my mother, my father, my brother. We'll raise money. And, of course, we worked from the house, and, we went to a typesetter to lay out the paper. And we took every picture, wrote every story, and then we bring the first issue to the printer. And we enter it, I don't know, maybe it was 1, 2 o'clock in the morning with our boards, because in those days they were boards that you bring to a printer. And you go into these massive web press places, Long Island City, and they take a picture of the boards. Then from the picture, they make a plate. Then from the plate, they plate the presses, and they bring you, after about an hour, the paper coming off the presses. So they bring me the first issue of my first paper, and I'm looking at the front page, and my God, there was a blob of the baby on the front page instead of the picture, and I screamed out, stop the presses! And they did. And we had the picture in the car, we reshot the picture, they reshot the plates, they replated the presses, and about, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, they bring me the first issue, and there it is, perfect. And I said, it's a run. And so that was my very first day of my very first newspaper. And today I stand before you owning 90 newspapers and websites. And some of you may have been on my power list. We do the power list of Long Island. Some of you may have been my power women of Long Island. There we go. Some of you may have been our kings. Some of you. So we have events as well as, the kind of wonderful media outlets. And then, of course, my son is now the CEO, so he is very forward-thinking. And we have websites up the kazoo, and we have social media. I mean, I'm on Instagram, and I'm on this and that, and every social media platform you can imagine. And then we started with a podcast during the crisis, during the COVID. What did we do? We had to survive. We never missed a beat. We never missed a beat. We got our papers out every single week, and we had our events online. So we began webinars, and then we were able to do podcasts, and then we would do streaming TV. So we kind of have grown, and we are thrilled to serve Long Island. And now I have a big announcement. He doesn't even know. So I am going to be launching May 1st, Long Island Press Business. And we're going to have a business paper that's going to be focused on the people who do business on Long Island. So if we cover a business, it'll be the leader of the business, the people in the business that will be the focus. And that will be our way of saluting the people in the community of business, because I love business, you might have noticed. And so, you know, this is a thing. I said, well, you know, we serve Long Island, why not have a Long Island business? So we are launching that May 1st, and we'll get some, I'll hopefully give you my card, and we'll get to all the contacts, and I'll let you know about it. It is going to be mailed.
What?
It's going to be mailed.
What?
Yeah, well, it's very expensive. They just raised the mail rates. To 4,000 businesses on Nassau and Suffolk on Long Island that have 20 or more employees. And then the Long Island Press will have it inside it, which goes to 35,000 people on Long Island, emphasizing the Gold Coast, the North Shore. So we're very excited about, you know, my son and I suffer from attention deficit. When we start one thing and it gets off the ground, we're ready for the next thing. And of course, with the summer coming in, Dance Papers was added. This will be my third summer owning Dance Papers. And I had to just do a terrible thing. I had to follow my readers this winter. And my readers happened to go down to Palm Beach. So I went too. So it was a great thing that we opened Dance Papers Palm Beach. And we're now doing Dance Papers Palm Beach digitally. So, you know, it's a great adventure. And as being here, there's a lot of news to cover, right? Every single one of you has news to cover. And you should be using us, because what do? We depend upon you to bring us news of what you're doing. That's what makes our paper really successful. And we are truly grassroots. And I'll finish with my little bragging, if you don't mind, because last week we were notified that we were chosen one of the top 10 media companies in the United States. Thank you. By our editor and publisher, which is the National Trade Publication, put that out, and we were delighted to be and honored to be chosen. So it's a work in progress every day, and I think some of you probably have news that you don't know is news that we would be delighted to cover. So this was my breakfast hello. Any questions anybody might have? Yes.
Vicki, we have, those of us that live on Long Island have seen the incredible shrinking Newsday, where now it's about 25% of the column inches it was previously. What's the future of printed as opposed to instant gratification for people with the attention span of a goldfish?
So I'll share with you that as of this moment, we print every week 600,000 newspapers. But we have 9.8 million people on our websites. So I think the future is two pedals to the metal. That with print, you must have digital. There's nothing like, especially grassroots, like tearing out your kid's picture who just won the softball league, who just won the local, you know, I saw outside they had the Syosset football team. There's nothing like, and I don't care how old you are, even my grandkids, you know, touching and holding and tearing out and saving. I'm pleased to announce that my grandson, who's in Roslyn High School, is now the business editor of the Roslyn High School newspaper.
Yeah.
I mean, they love it. They love to have newspapers. So I think with all due respect, it's important to have multiple platforms for your business, even in the real estate business. You know, we make a little here, we make a little there, we make a little somewhere else in our business, whether it be rentals, leasing, commercial, residential. But, you know, having multiple platforms, I learned many years ago when I went to a Tony Robbins, remember Tony Robbins, the motivational speaker? So he gave a big lecture in Madison Square Garden. And you listen for hours and hours, but I walked away with one idea, powerful idea, and that was that you cannot survive a business with only one platform. You must have multiple platforms to survive and to thrive. And I went back to my office and I started a Spanish paper. Because we've written all these screens, and if you know the demographics, the Spanish community is the fastest growing population in our region, if not the country. And when I saw the demographics from the last census, I gathered a focus group and I said, what do you think? I brought somebody from Puerto Rico, I brought somebody from Dominican Republic, I brought somebody from Spain and somebody from Honduras and Peru. And I asked them, do the Spanish community feel that they would like a paper that will be in Spanish, but will be about local? And 2 of 1, they said, we need it, we want it, and I started from scratch. And today we own Noticia, which is a Long Island Spanish paper. We own now all the Spanish papers in New York City. And this community, came out of Tony Robbins.
Don't tell him.
But it was a very good move. I kind of pick ideas, and my son and I, we do have analytics for everything. And I can't be mad at Newsday because they did turn over. We bought from them AM New York. When they decided to exit Manhattan, the New York City, they didn't want to have AM New York anymore, and we took it over and made it to AM New York, and then we bought the competitor Metro, and it's AM New York Metro. So, for me, I think Paul Dolan, he really cares about Long Island, and they struggle. I think it's our blessing is that I don't have to cover national news, and I don't. I don't have to cover international news, and I don't. But I'll cover the Ukrainian situation with a local family that took in Ukrainian people, and that's how I cover the Ukrainian problem. So we keep our eye on who we are. And who we are grassroots community newspapers serving different communities with specialty papers, whether it be the Spanish or it be the business or it be the gay community. We own Gay City News. We own Caribbean Life with the Black communities. So we have a lot of niches, and I think that's been the fun of the journey. So thank you. I'll be here if you need me. Have my coffee.
Vicki, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Have a seat and have some breakfast.
All right, I have to give out my card.
The breakfast is ready.
Give it Dan's card.
Any other questions for Vicki? Not all at once.
Well, it so happens that we do have so many people here who represent various different communities. We heard before from Sidney and his group over here, and I don't know if there's an opportunity for you to, make an introduction to your group, to Vicki's group. I think that would be a great thing. And the Women's Council, we should have